Hey guys, today we are going to work through lesson 31 problem set, and today it is specifically adding mixed numbers. I think you'll find today's lesson to be a little bit easier than the past few lessons, so let's start with section 1, and they're simply asking you to solve 3 1/3 plus 2 2/3. Alrighty? And it essentially breaks down your whole 3 plus 2. That's where the 5 comes from. And then they're asking you to then add 1/3 plus 2/3. So you've got 3 1/3 plus 2 2/3. 3 plus 2 gives you your 5, and 1/3 plus 2/3 gives you your 3/3. So you come across here with 5, and everyone knows that 3/3 is essentially 1 whole. So 5 plus 1 whole gives you a grand total of 6. So 3 1/3 plus 2 2/3 gives you a total of 6. Let's work on problem B. And we have 4 wholes plus 3 wholes. 4 plus 3 gives me 7. And then we want to add 1/4 plus 2/4. And that gives me 3/4. So that equals 7 3/4. Pretty easy. Go ahead and hit pause and work on C by yourself. Moving on to part 2, they have asked you to solve, and this time they want you to solve by showing your work via a number line. We've done this many times. Just be sure that you are reading directions carefully, and if they are asking for you to prove it, this is your prove it, okay? So we have 2 4/5 plus another 1 2/5. We have our 2 plus 1 here, our wholes, which equal 3 wholes. So we know that our number line needs to show 3, and it needs to probably go even further past 4, because if you notice, when you add your 4/5 plus 2/5, 4 plus 2 is 6, that gives me 6/5. That's an improper fraction. That means I've got more than a whole, greater than a whole. So I have 3, I have greater than a whole here, that puts me at 4 and a little more. So my number line needs to at least go from 3 to 4 to 5. Okay, so let's go back to the original problem. We have 2 plus 1, which gives me 3. We have 4/5 plus 2/5, which gives us our 6/5. And we need to decompose our 6/5 into, you know what your strategy is for this. Fifths is your unit fraction, so 5/5 is 1 whole. How many jumps does it take to get me from 5 to 6? Just 1 more jump. So this 6/5 decomposed becomes 5/5 and 1 extra fifth. 3 plus 1 more is 4. And here I have my 1/5 left over here. How do I model this on a number line? Well, I start right here. I start at my 3. And what do I want to do? I need to add 6/5 to that. But instead of adding 6/5, you could add 6/5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll go ahead and plot that right there, but let's go back. You can decompose it here, and you can also decompose that on the number line. If I want to add 5/5 to my 3, that is 1 whole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/5. I forgot to mention at the beginning, the most important part, if we know that fifths are our unit fraction, then what must our wholes be divided into? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal parts. And 4 cuts gets us 5 equal parts. So we've labeled our 3. We started at our 3 and we added 1 whole. How did we do that? We jumped 5/5 and added our 1 whole. Now we can't forget to add that extra 1/5. And where did we end up? We ended up at the same spot that we did when I added 6/5. So our final answer becomes 4 1/5, which is here on the number line. All right, just remember for B and C, know how many holes you have. Know if these two fractions are going to take you greater than a whole, and that way you need to know how many holes you need to show on your number line. And again, your unit fraction here is fourths, so each of your holes is going to be divided into 4 equal parts. Each of your holes here will be divided into 8 equal parts. Hit pause and complete B and C using A as your model. Moving on to page 2, the directions ask us to solve and to use the arrow strategy this time. The arrow strategy. So what we have is 2 4/6 plus 1 5/6. This is our original problem, okay? So we want to always remember there are my holes. 2 plus 1 gets me the 3. And here are my fractions that I have to add together, 4/6 and 5/6. In the arrow strategy, what they want you to do, they want you to take the 2 plus 1, which is 3, and they want you to start with 4/6. So we've added the 2, we've added the 1, and now we've added the 4/6. The only thing we have left is that fraction right there. So 3 4/6, 2 plus 1 is 3 4/6. Now we just add this remaining 5/6. So we start with 3 4/6. And if you use your reasoning skills and you ask yourself, I'm at 4/6, I'm pretty close to 6/6. How many sixths do I need to have to get to my next hole? Well, if I decompose 5/6, the rest of what we have to add to this problem, if I decompose it, asking myself how many more do I need to get to a hole, I would decompose it with, for the 5, with 2 on this side and 3 on this side. So 3 4/6 plus 2 more sixths, this one, gets me to a whole number of 4, which is essentially 3 4/6, 5/6, 6/6. This is another way of saying 4 holes, 3 6/6. We've added 2/6. Now we have to not forget to add our remaining 3/6, and that ends us at 4 3/6. Using this problem as a model and being sure to use your arrow strategy, go ahead and complete B and C on your own. And remember, you've got your holes, and then you've got these two numbers to add, but they want you to take your 2 holes, carry it over, and then take that first fraction over. Carry your hole and carry that first fraction over, and then you can decompose those 2 fractions to help you out. Hit pause and finish those for the remainder of B and C. Last but not least, we are on section 4, and the same thing applies. They want you to solve, and this time you can use whichever method you prefer. I find this method to be pretty easy. When I have 2 mixed numbers, 1 3/5 plus 3 4/5, I'm going to take my 1 plus my 3. 1 plus 3 equals 4. I'm then going to take 3/5 plus 4/5. 3 plus 4 is 7. I keep my unit fraction, which is fifths. So I now have 4 7/5. Well, what do I want to do with that 7/5? I don't want to leave it improper. I want to decompose my 7/5 into reasonable benchmark fractions. My unit fraction is fifths, so I'm going to go 5/5 because I know that's 1 whole. How many more fifths do I need to get to 7/5? I need 2 more. 5 plus 2 is 7. That's where I get my 7/5. So now 4 and 7/5 is really 4 plus this 1 whole, which is 5. And then, not forgetting to bring over my 2/5. 1 3/5 plus 3 4/5 is a grand total of 5 2/5. I find that this is pretty easy. So you can use whichever method you would like. You can use the number line, you can use the arrow strategy, or you can use this way. So hit pause, complete B and C, and good job today.